Laws, where they come from, also the hierarchy of law. This particular module covers the sources of law, names of laws, and purpose of laws. Sources of law and their purposes. Where do laws come from anyway? The government, of course, but the government is huge. Yes, and laws come from all branches or parts of the government, and also the document that makes a government, a constitution. Sources of law and hierarchy of law. Review. You have been told the following categories of laws exist: U.S. constitutional law, federal statutes, federal regulations, federal cases, state constitutional law, state regulations, state cases, tribal, etc., territorial, etc. Here are some review questions. Where does U.S. constitutional law come from? Answer: the U.S. Constitution and the cases that interpret it. Where does state constitutional law come from? The state constitution and the cases that interpret it. Where do federal statutes come from? Answer: U.S. Congress. Where do state statutes come from? Answer: state legislature. I expect you to know the contents of this table. In the first column, it tells you the source of law in hierarchical order. More on that concept later. The sources of law are the Constitution and the constitutional law cases, the legislative branch of a government, agencies, also known as administrative agencies or government agencies, and finally, the judicial branch of government. Notice that we do not study executive orders and where they place in the hierarchy of law. In the second column, it tells you the name of law coming from that source. The names of the law or the types of law are constitutional law, statutory law, regulations or regs, and finally, case law, which has several different names, including common law, judge-made law, opinions, and precedent. In the third column, you are given a brief description of the purpose of this type of law. The purpose of constitutional law is to determine what governments can and cannot do. The purpose of statutory law and regulations is to regulate the behavior of people and business. The purpose of case law is to clarify any of the above. In summary, then, you need to know the four sources of law, the name of the law that comes from each source, and the purpose of each type of law. This slide just reinforces the difference between the source of law and the name of law coming from that source. The source of law tells you which branch of the government the law comes from. We have different names for laws coming from the different branches. Pause and answer some questions. This is the end of PowerPoint 3 Hierarchy of Law, Module number 1.